Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the movie The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim that I watched on HBO. And I did not like this at all. It was just boring. Holy shit. That's the biggest kind of crux of it. I mean, there's other things as well. It's like 134 minutes and I'm like, alright. And even though it's more anime style and animated, it looks the best when there's not a lot of motion. Once motion gets introduced, sometimes it just looks kind of weird. And the action scenes are just okay. Most of the time, it just seems like they do the barest kind of minimum on certain kind of action scenes. So, we pretty much have Eowyn from the live action movies narrating pretty much this story of like Rohan. So let's see. We've got the story of Hera, the daughter of King Helm Hammerhand, set 200 years before Frodo finds the One Ring. And we're seeing that she's like pretty much trying to coax this eagle to pretty much be her friend. She doesn't really want to be the kind of typical kind of princess and anything like that. So I was like, okay, cool. Understand the kind of basics. Then we are introduced that this dude, Freka, a Dunlending lord, pretty much to be kind of an asshole. We see that her brothers also kind of bring her into this. Her kind of shield maiden warder is pretty much like, yeah, we kind of have to deal with this, and the most kind of dangerous people are like those fat assholes that sit and just kind of contemplate stupid kind of shit. It's like, yep. Pretty much trying to push off and pawn Wolf, his son, to be Hera's husband. Evidently, Helm Hammerhand has the idea of potentially marrying her off to someone in Gondor, but that really doesn't pop up, only except for potential political intrigue, pretty much on Freka, pretty much like, oh, what, is my son not good enough for anything? And Helm's like, fuck you, motherfucker, and they decide to pretty much go have fisticuffs, which pretty much turns into Freka kind of beating a little bit on Helm, and then Helm pretty much killing him in one punch, accidentally. At first, I thought it was like Wolf and other people of his retainers doing this to kind of spark an incident. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, man. He's like, you're banished, bitch. Fuck you. And then he's banished, and then we pretty much essentially get like watered down kind of more Game of Thrones rather than Lord of the Rings, because it apes more of Game of Thrones kind of style of like Wolf raising kind of like a rebel army. For some reason in Isengard is like, alright. And we see that there's like a rabid kind of, what is it? It's like a couple years. Mama Kill, which is like their OnlyFans kind of thing. And she pretty much finds a watcher in the water, which is the kind of thing that pretty much almost ate Frodo and the rest before they went into the mines of Moria. And it fucking eats the whole entire Mama Kill. And it's like, oh, holy fuck, Mumak. I'm like, holy fucking shit. Before she pretty much gets captured, sees Wolf there. He reiterates trying to be her husband, and she's like, I'll do it if it'll stop this. And he's like, fucking nuts. There's really not that much there for any of these characters. It's like the barest kind of minimum. She doesn't want to get married and wants to do kind of like more adventure-y kind of stuff. Wolf is just kind of slighted and is just going on a complete revenge path. It's like barely their kind of character development. And the thing is, we had this already before where Wolf's like, yeah, we could have done this, and we see them like playing and her accidentally hurting him, giving him the kind of scar. It's like, alright. And we pretty much see that he like works with the Southern forces that we had seen in the previous Lord of the Rings movies, doing a Mama Kill kind of like raid thing on Edoras. But of course, Helm doesn't figure out what's kind of going on until his people are out on the field. This one dude pretty much does like a Game of Thrones kind of betrayal, but Hera is able to kind of deal with his ass, even though she accidentally stabs him with a pitchfork. and she gets everybody pretty much out, and they pretty much get to the Helm's Deep before it's called Helm's Deep. And because this is the place where it's like, oh, this is called Helm's Deep. And we essentially just have like a retread of shit from the two towers, even though this is kind of more on a longer kind of time frame. And Helm is kind of fucked up. He's almost killed in the battle. He loses both of his sons with this, and pretty much goes into a deep kind of slumber, and then kind of goes kind of crazy ass and just beating all shit. Orcs are going around trying to find the One Ring, which was kind of interesting because those orcs were voiced by Merry Pippin. We also get that they use Christopher Lee's voice for Saruman, which I think is bullshit. I'm really getting tired of them utilizing dead actors. Just recast them or don't use the character at all. It's like, what the fuck? We also get that, like, Gandalf at the end of the movie sends Hera a letter to kind of like, yo, can we link up and talk about these fucking orcs looking for rings and shit? And the thing is, we see that she follows Helm out. He's like going around trying to protect her and stuff like that. She's like, this isn't fucking working. You're just going around beating people, potentially, and killing people as this kind of wraith kind of thing, because the army's pretty much camped out outside of Helm's Deep and is trying to wait out the other kind of people, but they're building a siege tower and shit. And Wolf's like, kill them all! And it's like, alright, but he doesn't really have any gold or the resources. You would think that a mutiny would have sparked on his ass far sooner than this. But no, they have to build the siege tower and have some kind of last action scene as she's dressed in this, like, bride's gown that was at Helm's Deep for some reason. Her father also died, pretty much, like, getting her back into the keep after they were, like, outside for a little bit. And he froze to death, but he somehow had his hammer, even though he didn't go out with his hammer. We see that he is laid to rest, kind of, and that Hera pretty much asks this eagle that she attempted to befriend in the beginning to take her father's armor, and takes it pretty much to her cousin, Freylof. And he comes in kind of similar with Gandalf before, except this time it's at night. We even get a recreation of them kind of like coming down the hill as they're protecting the people getting out of Helm's Deep, kind of in a similar kind of passageway. And she fights and pretty much beats Wolf's ass, and then he tries to pretty much kill her ass, but he pretty much gets, let's see. Yeah. But she chokes him to death with a shield, ending the war. Because her shield maiden person was able to get her one. I was like, God damn, she fucking did that. We see that her cousin then takes over as king of Rohan, and she goes off with her shield maiden to pretty much do adventures and shit. Hera remained wild and free until the end of her days. And this also showcases Saruman taking over as the new keeper of Isengard and offering friendship to Freylof. This was just boring and not even really that great to look at. There's certain kind of things, I don't know why this was made. I don't mind exploring the Lord of the Rings lore and mythology. That's always kind of cool. But it has a distinct style and flavor that should be different than Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is just like grim, dark bullshit. Like, everybody fucking sucks. Lord of the Rings really isn't that. There are people that suck, don't get me wrong, but it's more of a different kind of balancing act and has more kind of a hopeful kind of thing that you go for. And even though there's things that happen Game of Thrones style of like politics and intrigue, it has to be handled differently. And this, I'm just like, okay. And anime style, I'm down for. This just didn't add anything, and it in motion just didn't do shit for me. It just didn't look right, and sometimes was kind of jerky or whatnot. I think that it's really kind of bad when I'm like, I really would have just rather looked at stills. And it mainly comes into how characters move and kind of handle themselves. It just sometimes was jerky enough just to be uncanny valley enough to be like, something's not right here. So I don't know what their objective was with this movie, other than we need to keep certain kind of rights for these films, so we will make something and just plop it out. Because I think if this had been given a little bit more time and care, you could have really dug more into the characters rather than just doing archetypes, going through certain kind of things that we had already seen in other previous movies to do instead of like the member berries kind of shit. And give the animators time to do really good animation quality. Like the overall aesthetic and overall kind of work on it is top quality. It's when it gets into motion that I'm like, what the fuck's kind of going on with this shit? I just really did not have a good time with it. Now, if you did, that's cool. That's awesome. Again, ignore my fucking ass. That's like, even if you watch me and it's like, I don't like something, don't let that take your enjoyment. That's never my intent on this. I'm into Lord of the Rings. I like exploring everything that goes on with Middle Earth and those kind of deeper kind of dives of what kind of goes on. This just added nothing to, like, Rohan, the Rohirrim. You could have explored more of the connection with the horses and why they're more of a horse nation, what goes on with this. It just felt like, oh, okay, the reason we went to Helm's Deep is because these guys, Helm Hammerhand, he did the same thing like 200 years before. It's like, alright? That really doesn't give me much. It's like, and the voice cast did what they could do. There really wasn't enough content to really do anything. It's really kind of weird that Brian Cox, was Helm Hammerhand. It's like, okay. And then most of the other people I'm not that familiar with, but of course they brought in Merry and Pippin. I don't like the record, like, that they used. It's always weird when they start. I've gotten more against that kind of thing when an actor's passed away. It's like, no, stop doing this Rememberberry shit and fucking doing stupid ass shit. If you can't adequately do something with it, don't do it. Or recast it with somebody. Give another actor some kind of chance to put their mark on the character or whatnot. I'm fine with that. Does it always work out? No, but it's better than just trying to do the perpetuity of, like, even if this person's dead, we are going to use the fucking shit out of them. It's like, no, fuck you. So I wouldn't recommend this to a Lord of the Rings fan. It's like, there's other stuff out there. Check that out. Anime fan? No, better movies out there. Check those out. Action and adventure? Better ones out there. Like, I'd pretty much be like, I was bored and this was like a waste of pretty much 2 hours. Yeah. And, I mean, I know why, and I got something out of it, but I'm like, wow, this is boring and doesn't add shit. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.